Although LLCs provide substantially the same limited liability protection for members as corporations do for stockholders, LLCs are an unattractive vehicle for the conduct of a typical Silicon Valley startup because first, they don't facilitate rapidly changing ownership because each new equity owner must become a party to the operating agreement and becomes entitled to a Schedule K-1 at the end of each year, providing full visibility into the company's financial performance, no matter how small the owner. Second, they do not issue shares of stock and thus cannot grant stock options, making typical equity incentives much more complex, cumbersome, and less attractive to recruits. Third, they're much more difficult to raise venture capital because investors do not want to be exposed to the risk of having to pay taxes on the company's income if the company elects to reinvest earned income into the business. In many cases, the inclination to form a startup as an LLC is based upon the false premise that the LLC will be a more tax-efficient vehicle for the startup, because most startups don't generate revenues in excess of expenses, and thus taxable income for many years, and the corporate income tax on $0 of income is the same as the LLC income tax on $0. The foundational reason for conducting a startup through the corporate form is that corporations provide a shield of limited liability that protects stockholders, both entrepreneurs and investors, from liability for corporate obligations. In addition, corporations are an attractive vehicle for the conduct of a typical Silicon Valley startup because they facilitate rapidly changing ownership, as shares can be easily purchased or sold. They enable the grant of stock options, which are the customary equity incentive used by cash-poor startups to lure talent with hope of sharing in the upside potential of a startup that appreciates in value. They enable venture capital investment through the sale of preferred stock to investors, with the rights, preferences, and privileges that those investors need to satisfy their investment guidelines. And they are the easiest vehicles to provide investor liquidity through acquisition or initial public offering.